Welcome guys to tonight's Fit Focus Forum. Thank you very much. If you're tuning in live, we do this a couple times a month for our clients here, but we're also posting them on the YouTube channel so that anybody that wants to learn something about their health and fitness journey can tune in after the fact and watch these videos and hopefully get something useful for them to take with them. I want to get real for a second, all right? And this is going to be the first time I'm going to ask people who are live on the call to use the text to give me a reply. How many of you deep down know exactly what you need to do to hit your fitness goals? Like you've got a plan, you've got all of the knowledge you need, but then for some reason you just don't do it. Or you start strong and then something derails you. Either give me a thumbs up or give me the little raised hand guy if this has ever happened to you. And I'm going to say if you don't give the thumbs up, then I think you're probably lying to me or yourself, right? Because this happens to me too, right? There's always something in our lives that can move us into this mindset. I'm human just like everybody else. People that are in the fitness industry are not superheroes. We struggle with a lot of the same challenges as everybody else. It's just, we've taken a lot of time to learn maybe how to deal with them better so that we can share those with other people. Okay, so if you are watching this on YouTube, you can go ahead and leave a comment below if you've ever experienced this challenge. And again, if you are saying that you've never experienced this challenge, then I would love for you to comment below and tell us how you've never experienced this challenge, because I'm very interested to hear that. But just know that you're not alone, right? As I said, we've all been there. So today we're diving into something incredibly powerful, something that often makes or breaks our progress, mastering your mindset. And we're going to talk about that sneaky little thing called self-sabotage. And we're going to talk about how to build consistency that actually sticks no matter what life throws at you. So tonight we're going to cover a few key things. We'll start by understanding the why behind self-sabotage, why we do the things that work against us. Then we'll move into identifying common self-sabotage patterns so that you can recognize the traps that you might fall into. And then after that, we'll dive into the power of small habits and micro wins. And this will show you how tiny actions can create massive momentum. And you can utilize these tactics, not just in your fitness journey, but in anything that you're trying to accomplish in life, any goal that you set for yourself. And then finally, we'll talk about reframing setbacks and building resilience, how to turn those failures into fuel for growth. And remember, gang, this is a space for you to learn and for you to grow. So especially if you're watching this on the replay, if you don't quite fully understand something we're talking about, go back and rewind, watch it again, and really try to grasp the subject, because I think this is probably one of the most important things that we deal with clients in our program, right? Again, when someone falls off, how do we get them back on track? How do we get them taking action again? All right. So let's talk about self-sabotage. It sounds really dramatic, right? But it's really actually just our brain trying to protect us, often in really, really unhelpful ways. It's not about being weak. It's not about not wanting it enough. It's about deeply wired psychological patterns. So there are common whys and also why they're not your fault. So first up, there's the fear of success. This one is uncomfortable, but it is real. What if you do hit your goals? What changes? What new expectations are going to be placed on you? Sometimes staying in the struggle is a strange form of comfort, right? It's the devil that you know. It's like being on the verge of getting a big promotion. You want it, but suddenly you're like too busy to prepare, or you procrastinate. Why do we do this? It's because success brings new challenges, and with that comes new responsibilities, and sometimes a fear of not being able to sustain those new challenges and new responsibilities. Then there's the fear of failure, right? This one's a little bit more obvious. If you don't fully commit, you can't truly fail, right? It's a protective mechanism. And if you only give 50% and it doesn't work, you can say, well, I didn't really try my hardest, right? So imagine that you're about to run a marathon, right? If you don't train fully, you can always blame your performance on not having enough time, right? But if you trained perfectly and still didn't hit your goals, it really does end up feeling like a bigger blow. Like, I put in all this effort, all this work. I thought I did everything right. What happened? The next part of this is the comfort zone trap. So our brains love efficiency and predictability. They do not like change, right? Our brains are very, very habit driven. That's why it's so hard to change our habits and why it takes such a long time to develop healthy habits when you've spent your whole life developing unhealthy ones. Change, even positive change, really requires effort and energy. Staying where we are, even if it's skinny fat and frustrating, it's a familiar place. Your brain is kind of like a lazy GPS, right? It wants to take the route it already knows, even if there's a faster, better route that requires a quick detour. It's just trying to conserve energy. And let's see, finally, a huge one for many of us is perfectionism, which is the all or nothing thinking. All right. So if we can't do it perfectly, we do nothing at all. One missed workout, one bad meal, and the whole week is ruined. Right? It's like dropping one piece of a puzzle and then deciding to throw the whole puzzle on the ground because it's ruined. Right? You wouldn't do that. It's not ruined. You just dropped a piece. If you were doing the puzzle, you would pick up the piece and keep going. So it's interesting how we choose not to apply that to other situations in our life, other goals that we have. All right. So out of these whys, I'm going to repeat them really slowly: the fear of success, the fear of failure, comfort zone, and perfectionism. Which one do you think secretly trips you up the most? And be honest with yourself. If you're with me live, type your answer in the chat. And if you are, following along on the replay, just kind of reflect on this for a moment. All right. So I'm going to repeat them again: fear of success, fear of failure, comfort zone, or perfectionism. For my guys that are on the call, which one do you feel like you suffer from the most? While I'm waiting, I'll tell you mine. Mine used to be fear of failure until I learned that there is no success without failure, right? Mine has actually turned into the fear of success. It's completely flipped itself on the head. Okay, so comfort zone, I totally get that one. And then fear of failure. Okay. And again, I used to suffer from the fear of failure, Alex. But there is a great saying that I really love: no one ever learned by winning, right? If you really think about that, in order to learn something, you have to fail at it first. It teaches you a lesson, and then you can apply that lesson the next time that you have to accomplish that task or in whatever challenge you've given yourself in life. All right. So, next thing I want to talk about is identifying common self-sabotage patterns. So, we know why our brains do this. Now, let's look at how it shows up in our fitness journey. These are patterns that I see all the time. And, recognizing them is the first step to changing them. So, I'm going to list some common scenarios for you. And we're going to start with scenario one, which is the weekend undo. You're crushing it all week. The workouts are on point. The macros are dialed in. You feel great. Then the weekend hits. This happens to all of us. One social event, one fun meal, and suddenly you've completely undone all of that hard work. By Monday, you feel bloated, guilty, and you feel like you're starting from scratch. The sabotage here isn't just having fun. It's often a subconscious relief from the discipline, right? Or a belief that you earned the derailment. It's the all or nothing trap, which is an action. And we have another scenario called the perfectionism paralysis. You decide you're going to be 100% perfect with your macros. You're going to hit every single workout perfectly. You're going to get 8 hours of sleep. You're going to meditate daily. And then the moment one thing isn't perfect, a macro is off. You miss a set. You miss a meditation. You throw your hands up completely and you just say, forget it. I'll start next week. Next week never comes, right? And the pursuit of perfection becomes the enemy of progress. It's a built-in excuse to quit when things get difficult because it's not going to be perfect anyway. And this is what we tell ourselves. The final scenario I want to go with you, scenario number 3, is the almost there derailment. So you're seeing great progress, your clothes are fitting better, you're getting stronger, the scale is moving, you're almost at that next milestone, and then suddenly your consistency drops, right? You start missing workouts, you start tracking less, you start making excuses. I am not going to lie, we see this quite often in the program as well. This is something that we're always trying to make our clients aware of, and the fact that this is something that you can get over. You get so close to what you want, and then you pull back, right? This often links back to the fear of success. This is where I am when I'm doing business stuff, right? The fear of success gets me. I have to fight through this all the time. You're approaching a new identity, right? You're approaching a new level of confidence, and it can feel really scary, right? Have you guys ever heard of the imposter syndrome? If you have, give me a thumbs up in the chat. If you haven't heard of the imposter syndrome, right? It's you believing that you don't deserve to succeed in the thing that you're trying to excel at, right? I will tell you, for fitness professionals, this is super common. For entrepreneurs, my God, probably even more, right? And I'm sure that a lot of us deal with this every single day in whatever we're doing in our professional or personal lives, right? Am I really the qualified person to be able to do this, right? Am I really someone that can actually get to my health and fitness and body goals, right? Yeah, guilty in your profession. Yeah, me too. That's where most of mine comes from. It's scary, right? It's frustrating. So your brain pulls back to something familiar. All right. Um, so I'm going to give you guys a little true or false quiz, right? And if you're watching this on the replay, you can play in your head, you can write it down. But I'm going to read a statement. If it feels true for you, just give a thumbs up emoji. If it's false, give me a thumbs down. All right. There's only two of you on this call today. So I'm going to ask you guys both to participate. You're doing a great job already. Okay. So true or false? I've started a new fitness plan perfectly, only to completely fall off track after a few days or weeks. All right. Okay. We have conflicting ones here. All right. So this is, it feels true for you, right? Good. Not with you, the last trainer. Thanks, Alex. I appreciate that. All right. No, I totally get it. And it's okay if it's happening with me too. It happens, you know? But that's why it's always great to have a coach as well, because you have somebody that you can lean on. And don't be afraid to lean on your coaches. That's what they're there for. And if you feel uncomfortable leaning on your coach, then evaluate why you have this coach in the first place. And I'm dead serious when I say that. All right. I find myself making excuses for why I can't work out, even when I know I should. True or false for you? I've gotten good at busting through this one. And it's because I put my workouts in my schedule and I make sure that it's like an appointment. Like I wasn't going to miss this appointment today. I don't miss my appointment with myself at the gym. All right, good. False for both of you guys. I felt like I'm too busy for fitness, but then I find time for other things. I think we can all give a thumbs up on this one. No, really, Alex? That's good. I'm happy to see that. I've done this before. You know, like I'm too busy to do this, and then I end up doing something else. Again, I don't do it as much as I used to because I'm now doing this for a living, but I fall into this trap myself in the past. I tend to be really hard on myself when I miss a workout or I eat off plan. True or false? Thumbs up or thumbs down? Yep. The question is, I tend to be really hard on myself when I miss a workout or eat off plan. Yeah. So this is probably one of the hardest habits to develop, the habit of self-love, right? I missed a workout, but it doesn't matter because I'm going to look at tomorrow and I'm going to make sure that I don't miss my workout tomorrow. We're going to talk a little bit more about how to do that. Okay, guys? So it's not just going to be identifying, but we're also going to talk about, tactics. So let's talk about the power of small habits and micro wins. All right, let's start to veer into the ways that we can help with our self sabotage, right? So we understand why and how we self sabotage. Now let's talk about the antidote, all right, which is unshakable consistency. The secret is not willpower, it's about small habits and celebrating micro wins. The reality check here is that motivation is fleeting. It's like a spark, it gets you started, but it won't keep the fire burning. What keeps the fire burning is discipline built on systems and routines. Waiting to feel motivated is a trap. All those 80s motivation books are bullshit. Action leads to motivation, not the other way around. And I probably said this in 70% of the Fit Focus forums that I've done. I want everyone to always remember that. It is action that leads you to motivation, not the other way around. You're never going to get motivated to do something if you don't take an action first. All right. You don't wait to feel like going to the gym. You go. And then you go and you feel motivated to do it again. And if you're not motivated to go to the gym, then sit down and do a 3-minute meditation. You took action, right? That 3-minute meditation may turn into a 5-minute breath work tomorrow. That 5-minute breath work might turn into hitting your 7,000 steps. That 7,000 steps, maybe on day 4, you're at the gym, right? So, the example I use here is I don't feel like going to the gym, go, right? That's a little easier said than done, but you can break that down into smaller things. You don't have to take action in the action you want to take. If you take other similar actions in your journey, it'll lead you to the bigger action that you're avoiding. And that is actually a really good trick. It's one of my favorite ones. All right, let's talk about identity-based habits. This is powerful. So instead of I want to lose weight, think I'm a consistent person. I'm someone who prioritizes my health. When you frame it around who you're becoming, the actions become easier. So, for example, instead of I need to hit my macros today, try something like I am someone who fuels my body optimally for performance and growth. This is really just about changing the way that your mind works and changing the way that you think. Then there's the power of good enough with micro wins. If you're part of the modified macro method, then Will and I have hopefully hammered into your head that this is not about perfection. There's no day that we wake up that we expect ourselves or any of our clients to be perfect. That is in our coaching. That is in our clients' ability to perform everything they need to do to reach their goals, right? What you want to focus on is good enough done consistently, right? If you can't get to a full workout, do a 10-minute workout. If you can't hit all your macros, just hit your protein. You can't meditate for 20 minutes, do 2. These are all micro wins, but exactly what I just said a moment ago, they build momentum, right? It's like building a wall. You don't need to lay a perfect brick every time. You just need to lay a brick consistently, and over time, the wall is going to get built. Next, you can try what's called habit stacking. So link a new habit to an existing one. For example, after I brush my teeth, I log my breakfast. So there's a part of your brain that doesn't require you to think for things to happen. And this is the part of the brain that you train when you're developing habits. That's why habits take so long to develop. So this is a great example. When I get out of bed in the morning, the first thing I do is pee, and then I brush my teeth. And every single morning, I'm half asleep. I'm not thinking about it. I put my shorts on, I walk into the bathroom, and those are the 2 first things I do in that order every single day. My body has a very well established ingrained habit in my brain. And that part of that brain that we're trying to change with all these fitness habits that doesn't like change is what's controlling that, right? So if you can connect things to that, right, then it's going to be a little bit easier for you to develop those habits. Once I brush my teeth, I log my breakfast. After I finish my last work call, I put on my gym clothes, right? So maybe you finish your last work call every day at 6 p.m. At 6 p.m., you put on your workout clothes, even if you're not going to the gym yet. It's just something that happens at 6 o'clock. And this is going to be an easier way for you to train that part of your brain. That, in my opinion, is the hardest part of your brain to train. Finally, let's talk about the 2-day rule. So never miss a workout or tracking or a mindset activity 2 days in a row. If you miss Monday, make sure you hit Tuesday, even if it's not everything in the calendar. I didn't do anything yesterday because I was so slammed with work. My mother's in town. I had to go to dinner with my mother and my brother, and there was no way I could go to the gym. I didn't even get to track my food because we were talking all the time. I forgot to take a picture. I can't use the hand portion conversions, right? This is your brain going on and on and on and on and on. Doesn't matter. The next day, you're busy. I'm not going to have time to go to the gym. I can't move Monday workouts to Tuesday, but I can do the meditation in the morning, and I can log all of my food, right? So that never skipping 2 days, never skipping 2 days in a row doesn't mean you have to do everything. It just means if you didn't do everything on one day, make sure you do something the next day. Why? Because action leads to motivation, right? And eventually you're going to be back on track, and you're going to be back on track faster than you think. All right. This prevents that slip that you experience from becoming a slide that lasts the entire week. So, question for anybody that's on the call, and actually, this is a really good one. If you're rewatching this on YouTube, if you want to tell us in the comments, what's one micro win or one small habit that you could commit to this week that feels easy, but would build consistency? Something you know that you can't fail at. Type it in the chat. I'm going to give you a couple of examples so you know what I mean. Log breakfast. Take a 5-minute walk, 1 minute meditation, do 1 push-up, right? It's okay if you take a second to think about this. I'm trying to think of something I'm working on right now, so I can give you a real world example of myself. Sometimes I skip my breathing in the morning, right? So I have made it a point this week and last week and getting better at it to do the shortest breathing exercise that we have in the app. It doesn't need to be 10, 15 minutes as long as I get it done, right? My action really is checking off all of the tasks that are in my Apple Calendar. So, Nico and Alex, come on. I know you can think of one. What's one small micro win or small habit that you can commit to this week? Morning stretches. All right. How long do your morning stretches usually take, Nico? 3 minutes, 5 minutes? 10. Okay. That's not bad. I do mobility in the morning. It takes me 5 minutes because I find that if I have a 10-minute mobility, sometimes I don't do it. Again, I'm human, just like everyone else. But that's one way that I found that I was going to be able to accomplish something. All right. Okay. Preparing your lunch and dinner the day prior is good. That's a pretty big one, though. You know, that's a big habit. So it's great that you do that. It's good, Nico. It's good. So it's almost like regenerative yoga. Um, it's good, Alex, but that's a pretty big one. If you're preparing your lunch and dinner the day before, I guess maybe if I look at that a little bit differently, the micro habit there or the micro win could be maybe you're making double of what you ate for dinner. There you go. That's exactly, you just took the words out of my mouth. Perfect. That makes it more of a small habit, and that's great. It's a really good idea too. If you're watching this and you try to figure out how to make your lunch every day without meal prepping, every time you make dinner, make twice as much and eat it for lunch the next day. All right. So let's talk about reframing setbacks and building resilience. No matter how good your systems are, life is going to happen. You're going to miss a workout. You'll eat off plan. You'll have a stressful week. That's not failure. It's just data. The key is how you respond to it. So we like to use the fail forward mentality, right? This goes back to exactly what I said a little while ago. No one ever learned by winning. Okay. Most people see a setback as a reason to quit. We see it as an opportunity to learn here, right? We look at it a little bit differently. It's not I failed. It's what can I learn from this? Think of this like a GPS again. If you take a wrong turn, the GPS doesn't yell at you and tell you to give up. It'd be really funny if it did, though. It just says recalculating, right? And then it gives you a new route. Your body and your plan are the same. I say this phrase to my clients all of the time. We look at the past with curiosity, with curiosity, excuse me, if I'm getting this right. It's the end of the day. Sorry, guys. We look at the past with curiosity and the desire to learn so that we can apply it to the future. All right. So we're never looking at the past feeling bad about what we did. Okay. We're failing forward, right? We're learning from whatever failure we had, whatever mistake we feel that we made. And if we repeat that mistake again, but hopefully we tried to apply what we learned last time, even if we came to the same result. Building resilience as well. First you need to acknowledge, don't dwell. Acknowledge the slip, but don't beat yourself up. Self-compassion really is crucial. Get back on track immediately. We ask our clients twice a week whether they're feeling green, yellow, or red in the program. And I make a really big deal out of clients who say they're green, and then I look at their calendar and half of it isn't complete. This isn't about me being an asshole or being mean. It's not about feeling bad about what you haven't done, right? It's about admitting to yourself that there's work that needs to be done so that you can acknowledge it. And then you can move forward and get back on track. All right. They say this in a lot of different situations, but admitting there's a problem is the first step to fixing the problem, right? And if you have a problem last week that you didn't fill in all of your check marks or your tasks in your calendar in the app, then you're just lying to yourself. And that's not going to get us anywhere. That's why I make such a big deal about it. The second thing you want to do here is identify the trigger. So what caused the setback? Was it stress? Was it lack of preparation? Was it emotional eating? This is all part of admitting there's a problem. Understanding the trigger helps you avoid it next time. This is the learning process. Being honest with ourselves about the trigger is super important too. Just like being honest with ourselves that there's work that needs to be done. Well, what work needs to be done, right? These things go hand in hand. The third thing here is adjust, right? Don't abandon. Don't throw out the whole plan because of one bad day or one bad week. Adjust the plan. Maybe you need a deload week, or you need a simpler meal strategy for travel. Maybe you need to reach out to your coach and tell them that you just can't make it to the gym this week. If you have a good coach, then they're going to help you manage your schedule in a way that you're going to be able to take the week off and get back on track maybe on Monday when you return from your trip, or when you're done with this crazy project that your boss threw at you at the last minute. If you're going on a big trip and you don't feel like you're going to be able to log food, just take pictures instead. There's always a path forward. Giving up is the one thing that we want to try to avoid. And finally, focus on the long game. One meal, one workout, one day. It doesn't define your entire journey. It's the cumulative effect of consistent effort over time. Consistency is the most important piece of a successful fitness journey, and it's always going to lead you to where you want to go. Right. So there you have it. Mastering your mindset isn't about being perfect. It's really about understanding why we self sabotage, recognizing those patterns and then building simple, consistent systems that make success inevitable, even when motivation is low. It's about shifting from I hope I stay consistent to I'm a consistent person who builds strong habits. Change your mindset. You don't need endless willpower. What you need is a clear understanding of your own psychology, a smart strategy, and a support system that actually gives a damn about your results. So just to finish up here, let's be really clear. You can absolutely achieve the lean, confident, muscular physique you desire, and you can maintain it for the long run. It's not about shortcuts or magic pills that promise overnight miracles. Every single one of us is on our own individual journey. Some of us can jump right into a weight loss phase and be successful if we stay consistent. Some of us have other things going on in our body or our histories that require a different approach. What it's about understanding your own mind and how it tries to protect you. It's about building small, consistent habits that stack up over time. It's about reframing setbacks as learning opportunities and not failures. And it's about a blueprint that respects your unique biology, your age, and your busy lifestyle. And lastly, it's about a support system that actually gives a shit about you and not just your engagement rate, right? You're not fighting an uphill battle against your age or your metabolism. You're simply ready for a smarter, more sustainable strategy that actually delivers, right? Do me a favor, guys. Drop a fire symbol in the chat um, if you feel like you are fighting yourself and building unshakable consistency as part of this program, even just a little bit. Awesome. If I don't get any fire, then let's have a chat on the side. I think just speaking of the two people on this call, you guys absolutely both are. All right. You've both taken incredibly small steps and incredibly large steps towards achieving the things that you want to achieve. All right. But if anybody's watching this on YouTube and you've never had a chance to interact with us and you're ready for a blueprint that helps you apply all of this, just leave the comment my turn. And someone from our team is going to reach out to set up a free call so that we can start the conversation and get you headed in the right track. Thanks, Nico. Nico, one of our clients, I love the process and the results. I appreciate that. All right, guys, thank you very much for attending.